Mere mortals. Welcome back. Mere Mortalites. Slightly delayed from our usual. Well, we planned out to be 7 a.m. However, we are an hour and 40 minutes early from our usual time. So
Correct.
You can decide whether we're late or whether we're early. This is Musings. We are the Mere Mortals. You got Juan here.
And Karen here on the other side.
29th of December and 7:15 a.m. Musings is a chance for us to have a bit of a conversation around a particular topic. We will meander. Deep topics with a light-hearted touch is kind of the little tagline that we used to use quite a lot of times. Philosophizing in the park was another one. But today, something that I kind of came up through the week was AI that I wanted to talk to you about. Yep. Now, the title that Karen's put together for this particular one is Open Source Decentralized AI, Can the Compute Compete? I'm going to give you, right at the onset, just so people, if you're listening to this, we will not be technically talking about AI. Both me and Karen don't have the chops nor the real probably care factor to go down to like that level. I'm curious, but I'm not intelligent enough to go down that path. Just not intelligent enough, not prepared to learn the amount that I would need to learn and then continually be up to date with what everything's going on. Both software, which I enjoy, but the hardware aspect of it, man, that's like, it's a little bit of a stretch too far.
Yeah, that's
in my end.
That's not interesting to me either.
So I thought one part, because we are likely to talk a lot more AI, I think, leading into 2025. Karen's going to be doing a particular niche, I would say, of the concept and the philosophy and some of the ideas happening in a decentralized space. But I thought it would be good to, like we do sometimes with the baselining, I'll ask you, AI, just in its general sense, what do you hope to gain from it? Like you personally, what are you hoping to gain, whether it's from a learning, whether it's from a usage, whether it's from an investment? What would you kind of like generalize for people at home?
Oh, like all technology, I wanted to make my life easier, I think.
Okay.
That would be the thing. Google search was amazing because it made people's lives much easier and was extremely helpful. So I see a similar sort of thing with the technology of especially agentic AI. So that's when you've got
Agentic AI.
Yeah, so it's an agent. So you basically, through very similar to how Google, the search page rank algorithm it was just simple text. You type into it and things that you found useful would pop up, whether it be videos, whether it be websites, whether it be business contacts, whatever it is. I'm hoping that AI can get to a similar place where I type in, hey, I'd like to buy 5,000 shares of Woolworths. And it just goes and does that for me using, and this is where we've got to have like a whole stack of additional technologies built one on top of another. And it might not be shares, it might be, hey, buy me, 50 grand worth of Ethereum because I'm a baller. And it just goes and does that for me using wallets and things like that. Obviously, that's a financial aspect, but you could imagine this doing similar things like, hey, go buy me a domain for this website. Hey, message this person for me. Hey, do this for me. And so I really hope that is what the future of AI is when it comes to me personally.
Yeah,
I just want the use cases, I want the technology of being able to learning about it and things like that. As you mentioned, I don't really, I've got a whole stack of YouTube videos about, the different types of transformer models. I've tried reading some of the papers, the attention is all you need, that sort of stuff. And it doesn't interest me.
Catch up.
I haven't gotten into it, whether it be because my IQ is too low or because there's just no interest there. Yeah.
So, and I will drop in the question of decentralized versus decentralized versus, I guess, closed system AI. That, I guess, objective or outcome that you want, which is, I guess, leverage AI so that actions that you want to take become easier. I guess there's less friction in it.
Yeah.
Do you then care if it's decentralized or a closed system?
Ultimately, no.
Or might it be a cost thing?
More,
if one place is charging you $1,000 per month to use it and the other one's free.
All these come into consideration. I'll throw an analogy of compared to the social media.
Yep.
There's alternative decentralized social media out there. It's just
Mastodon, for an example.
Mastodon's an example. Nostr is another example. They haven't caught on traction. I haven't found them particularly interesting or useful. No, Mastodon has been useful for the podcast index community, and I don't use it personally, but I don't really use social media personally that much. So
you can give the same example as well of close ones. Instagram's Threads. People are using it, but very few. Be Real, which was like as a social media, kind of took off for a little bit and then kind of like just petered out. So there's a few. What was the one with the speaking tree? The one where people would just go and do a lot of audio chats.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, you can obviously tell that one's gone and not really.
That had its moment.
Had its moment, yeah. So I'm not kind of if you can remember
Clubhouse.
Clubhouse. So I guess you could see it in closed versus decentralized sort of systems as well.
You know, there's arguments as to why, and this is why I value the RSS audio that we produce, the podcast, more than the YouTube videos. I value that much more, and there's a reason for that, because it's just you're always at the risk with YouTube of getting banned, demonetized. Our Kanye loves Hitler video almost got us in trouble.
Got brought back though. Karen challenged it and we won with it. So there you go.
Yeah.
Google, suck it. Alphabet, suck it. Look, I'll tell you my end of it.
What about for you for AI? What would you hope to get out of
mine's careening, especially for 2025. This is careening into like, oh wow. Already as part of my annual goals, if you go back to the annual goals, I had a goal there, leverage more AI. And even when I wrote that one down, I didn't realize how much more it was going to be impacting my life. So in a personal way, I am using it more, and same degree to yourself. I would like it to reduce the effort I'm using or the friction. Here's a clear example. We're looking at potentially moving from the current home to another place. I would have in the past, let's go back 5-6 years ago, to do my research around where next to buy and all that sort of stuff. I would have gone and perused documents, reports, sales histories, percentages. Maybe there was a couple of aggregators out there that could help me out with that. But it would have taken me a good 10, 15, 20 hours. Now, in fact, yesterday I had this quick idea, and I was like, I wonder if I can leverage one of the AIs to help me do something like that, which was, I think my sort of call outs was, I wanted to know over the last 10 years, what were the best performing suburbs, over the last 2 years, performing suburbs, fast forward to 2032 Olympics here happening in Brisbane, what could be the best, create an equation for me based on various factors of what that might look like. Now apply that equation into why, give me the reasoning as to why that might be. And it gave me, I'll give you the answer that it gave me for Brisbane, Wollongabba. So Wollongabba, that'd probably be destined to be. Well, and I was like,
move closer to me, Juan.
Yeah. There's a couple of places that we've got like listed there. So I'll just say that. But I went, okay, for me, AI, again, it's the reduction of, I would have taken 20 hours, probably took me 15 minutes to get to maybe 90% of the solution. One aspect that we can talk a little bit later, maybe it would be about what are you losing in constricting that time all the way down there? Is there anything that you're losing that's practical or valuable that you're now getting to the outcome so much quicker? Maybe there's some of that. Like, is there fun in the journey that you would do to get to that, and the learnings that you would get that you don't get in this way because you're just rushing towards the outcome? Perhaps I would say there's some foundational learnings, but again, you could probably leverage AI to do that. Okay. That park it on the side.
Yep.
The other way, though, from a business perspective is, again, talking about agents. And honestly, I guess I understood agents or agentic AI maybe in the wrong way. My attack with it all when I was having conversations the last couple of weeks was, you don't need agents. Why would you need agents? Because some of these LLMs are going to advance so far, whether decentralized or not, that they can just do anything. It's just like, go for it. Until I really kind of understood, yes, but you want to like focus in a particular action or proposal or integration so that it serves a purpose. And I went, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Because in pick whichever LLM out there, AI that you want to use, it can practically go and do many, many things, lots of things. But like the example you just gave, hey, I want to buy $50,000 worth of Ethereum, you'd probably want a specific agent that has that integration, has the connection, maybe go through the credential, all that sort of stuff.
That knows the difference between, okay, I want to buy this. Well, you can just go bulk buy that on an exchange and get smashed with regards to fees, or this one's like, oh, I'll if I use a DEX or multiple DEXs, I can break this up into smaller parcels. If I'm trying to buy 50 billion worth of Ethereum, it would know, hey, don't try and just do one big limit order of that. That's not going to be good. It's kind of just like a human. You know, if you ask just a general human to do something, they can do most things. It's just if you want the guy to, you know, pave your lawn over with new tiles or something, you want the dude who's practiced that a lot and knows where to get the new tiles from, how to lay them, all this sort of stuff, rather than just one coming in and absolutely
and there's like
creating a mess.
There's details underneath the sentence, which I guess gets to my last one as well, but there's details underneath the sentence where you say, hey, I want you to pave over my driveway. Okay, does that mean you pave over the top of the concrete that's there? Do you remove the concrete and put it over soil? Do you put a brand new layer of something and then put the tiles over it? So there's many ways you can do that, like you say, but there's more definitions to that, which I think is part of the agent experience, which I'm kind of seeing that more and more. And then the third and I think the biggest, so I first heard it from Tim Ferriss probably about 2 years ago. Again, Tim seems to always be well ahead of the curve in some of this stuff, but it was whoever gets the incantation best or suited the best will win. Or basically, whoever can write the better prompt or write the question really, really well into whatever AI, LLM you're using, the better it's going to go for you. The better it's going to give you whatever it is that you're actually seeking to get. And so a big part, I think, of AI, again, whether closed or decentralized,
I actually disagree with that nowadays. But
like, and the reason I'm saying that, here's a clear example. This is OpenAI. If you use ChatGPT 4.0 right now, it will give you a pretty good answer depending on your question that you ask. However, up the chain of logical modes, so like the O1 and then O1 Pro, which I've gotten my hands on to play around with, it's even more, let's just call it finicky. It's more finicky because you have to ask it even more appropriate questions. Otherwise, you do get an answer, but it's not as best used until you ask it a really, really good query or input into it. It will work better that way. The only place I haven't seen it doing it that well is probably the video creation AI usage like Sora, which, man, whatever I do creates horseshit videos. And some of the featured ones that are there, they look really cool. Man, I can't replicate anything. So if someone tells me if I'm just doing something wrong, and I've tried basic as balls, really complex bloody prompts, and everything in between, not working out for me.
Yeah. My thing with the prompts is it's kind of, once again, going back to Google search. You know, if you've got the Google search where you can use all of the parameters of like, don't put in this date, I'm looking for this specific keyword, exclude these keywords, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's all these, you know, things that you can actually do with that to refine your search and make it better and get the optimal result. But nobody really uses that. And so this is where I go, it's not the prompt, it's that's at least when we're talking like mainstream adoption of these things, it would be what the AI that wins, if we want to, or the model that wins or something like that, will be the one that can decipher what the average human just types in to make it to find what they want.
Actually, that's good call. At the simplistic level, at like general Googleable interactions, I agree. Like taking the minimal amount, use other info to kind of gather what you might need presented. Maybe I was thinking about it in the agent usage, business context, more harder, complex problems that you want to put in some significant parameters, integrations, whatever. That's where I go, okay, prompts and the right prompts creation would be really beneficial. But no, I agree. Like the more simple it can do those sort of things, the more of a challenge it'll be to like a Google or something similar.
Yep. Let's get on to the open source decentralized part of the equation. Yep. So I've gone down this rabbit hole for a bit recently, and you're getting two good portions here with the mere mortals, because one's certainly used a lot more of the chat GPTs of this world, of the...
I'll give you, just to context as well, because we've got to say, we're users, we're not creators of any of this shit. Like we're not coding, we're not anything like that. But the ones that I've played around with is Grok, so XAI is one, OpenAI, ChatGPT, and all its various models, Claude from Anthropic, and some of the ones that you said, I can't remember the name, but I played around with those like open source ones very like gently just to see what it creates and stuff like that, just to see its interaction.
Yeah, sure. And mine's almost the opposite. I've used most of the through Venice.ai, and because I've got a pro account there, I've got access to all of the biggest, best open source models. So the llamas,
if you can recall, I was going to say, does it give you like the very, very latest of say OpenAI's model?
No. So there's the open source models. So they don't have any closed source stuff in there.
Gotcha. Okay.
Is
Llama open source?
What?
Is Llama open source? Okay.
Yeah. So let me just see if I can go into my settings here. So, so it's got Llama, Dolphin 7.2b, Quen 2.5 code, Hermes 3, 8b, etc. All sorts of things, and that was just for the text, for the image, Fluently XL, Flux Standard, Flux Uncensored, Pony Realism, Stable Diffusion. So this is the ones I've been using personally, and then I have right when ChatGPT was first coming out, I tried that a couple of times. Sure. So you got a good mix of the uses here. At this very current stage, I would say almost guaranteed that Juan has gotten way better use, way better results out of everything that he's used so far, and this is because it is closed sourced, not decentralized, and it's had a renaissance. Not the right word. It's had a big popularity explosion since what was it 2021 that all this stuff really started happening.
So. Yep.
And so this is actually what happens a lot of times with technologies where it's the closed source models that win. So why am I interested in the open source decentralized ones if it's not getting as good results as what yours is
right now?
And this is linked very heavily to other stuff that I care about. Advertising, privacy, which I actually don't care about that much in general. We haven't talked about it much on here. Obviously, we're doing the podcast, so we're pretty forward-facing to the public and things like this.
Yep.
But when it comes to what I see being able to use with these models, and we talked about it previously, like it getting to know me, this is where kind of privacy is becoming a bit more important to me. Freedom of expression and even coercion. So I think the use cases that will set apart the decentralized stuff is it allows for all of these things. It allows you to have private conversations, which, OpenAI has taken everything that Juan has typed into it that I've ever typed into it, and it's stored it somewhere.
Yep.
What's it going to use that for? I think probably they'll go down the advertising model eventually, which is that it's going to start feeding specific results into what you're typing and searching for. Whether that be a little sidebar, kind of like how Google does, where it puts the top results as advertisers, sponsored ads, or whether it's thrown into it a little bit more sneakily. Who knows? I predict that's what's going to happen.
Okay. Look, honestly, it might do, and this is, I'm just throwing this out of complete left field because I don't necessarily know the exact numbers, because we've talked about this with Spotify, where if you pay the Spotify premium, you don't get ads. But again, Spotify itself still not making a profit. They're still generating a loss. So that's probably why they still
have just ticked into a little, like really recently. Really recently.
Congratulations, Spotify.
Yeah,
but I was going to say,
talking about them over
the inverse I was going to say was, with ChatGPT or just OpenAI's various models, I kind of go, I think there's enough people fucking paying for the privilege / the usage of it that they might not need to go down the path of having to go advertising role where everyone's just, however many people have subscribed to it, maybe 200 million people, maybe there's enough money there being generated just by subscription payments that
would be great. I'm trying to think of an example of big tech not going down the advertising at some point model of a company that's refrained from doing that.
Think about it from a non-social media perspective. So I always guess there'd be plenty out there that don't leverage ads in that regard. I would say Amazon leverages ads to market itself, but they don't. They themselves implement ads into their internal software that they sell.
Yeah, yeah. 'Cause that feels like just a whole
Like
the whole
Oracle.
thing is ads.
Well, like Oracle as a
What's
software producing like company, they themselves don't have to go down any path of ads because their product that they're selling makes them enough revenue and profits to do that. I would say
How many people use Oracle? Like, how many people buy that? Is that a
more so enterprise, like more so businesses, enterprises. I guess I would say it's weird because it's generally where I guess you'd see ads is where the eyeballs is, and the eyeball is usually the product is free. And so when the product is free, then you are the product when they're leveraging that. Whereas with OpenAI or some of the other closed systems, it isn't. There is free models, and yeah, I could see the free model then having ads introduced to it. But it appears like there's a lot of people using paid models in the closed system.
Yeah,
it just
yeah.
seems that way.
Okay, yeah. In any case, I think that'll probably be what's going to happen. So I feel like this is one of those ones where there's a decent chance that the open source models will never get better than the closed source ones. I could imagine, and when it comes to prompting, when it comes to the agentic AI, I think that'll be a bit different, but I'm talking probably the next couple of years is what I'm imagining when I'm saying this. Closed source, if you just type it in, a general thing, we were experimenting with this recently. What was it? Elmo playing sports with someone?
Yeah, Elmo playing like basketball with Michael Jordan or something to that effect.
I didn't get very good results from the open source models that I was using.
I couldn't even get a result from the closed like OpenAI model.
Okay, so that's
because it restricts you. You cannot create an Elmo.
Yeah, which is then getting into once again the kind of restricting of certain things, whether this be because of copyright or whatever. You know, that's fine. I'm unsure. I'm unsure as to whether the open source models will be better, but it's kind of like how I see RSS and its play with YouTube and video. I feel like YouTube is only good because there is RSS behind the scenes. It's not as popular. Adam Curry talks about when RSS and YouTube were first kind of coming out the first time. I should say this. Podcasting for RSS. RSS has been around for much longer than podcasting in it. And so this was around the 2004 to 10 period. And both were these kind of exciting new things. Oh shit, you can put audio up online and it's called podcasting. And then, oh shit, you can put video up online and it's YouTube. Or you could put video into podcasts. That was actually how I first found them in the iTunes Apple Store. I used to watch podcasts in there. And he was saying they were kind of like equal level of buzz, and then YouTube just skyrocketed up in terms of popularity, people using it, attention, news media's writing about it, etc., etc. For me, it feels like it needed RSS to be able to almost take in a lot of the people who YouTube wouldn't take in. So this is the type of people who would do the COVID podcast or the conspiracy podcast, obviously RSS is not just for that. Podcasting RSS is not just for that, but it certainly still has a role. It's like a backup almost. It's like you need the backup for this other thing to work really well. And I kind of see how that could potentially happen with this as well. So am I claiming that open source decentralized AI is going to be better? I think probably in the long run it will be, but certainly in like the short to medium, questionable. Yeah. Questionable.
See, one aspect of it, so I'll look at it in the other way between the decentralized versus closed, in that I think in the decentralized space, all of that you stated, I think is going to have its use cases, but I don't, even in the medium, again, I don't know, who knows what long-term looks like, but in the medium term, I don't see it bettering some of the availabilities of the closed systems. And that is more aligned to probably the value or the benefit that is being obtained and sought in the closed system, but also the level of talent that's being brought into the closed system. Years ago, and still today, Meta, Alphabet, Apple, Nvidia, a few of these ones, right? they were basically going out and still go out, and they will pay whatever money it takes to get literally the best people to be working on this. I think there's an example of XAI's chief AI officer or something like that, or finance, something technology. I'm pretty sure it was like XAI was like trying to hire them. No, sorry, they bought them from Google Minds, a deep mind, for like millions of dollars of salary, and then Google paid that particular person even more money to come back, like just ridiculous money, to make sure that, hey, we've got the absolute best people working on this. I don't know with both that incentive and alignment to what they want to do in the closed systems, how the decentralized model will be in very specific tasks that are going to be broadly used. I don't know. I don't see how that's going to do it in the medium term. No way. But in all other fronts, because of the restrictions that they place in a closed system, I can see its usage becoming much more relevant. As you mentioned, the fact that you can kind of go unrestricted, kind of get around some of the copyright items to create things that you want. That does seem valuable to a lot of people, I would say. I have no idea from this perspective. Something that I've read in, again, Tim Ferriss's, both in a document that he's written, but also in a conversation, how copyright will be applied to this is quite same conversation happens with NFT, right? How does copyright get applied to NFTs when you own it, but someone duplicates its usage and stuff like that? It's still I don't think there's been enough like legal cases in that, but if someone started using, Venice AI with whichever model to create things and sell them, but it was breaching copyright law, who's at fault there? Is it the models themselves for allowing that? Is it the individual generating and
is
creating
it the
that?
Copyright law itself and it's outdated and not useful?
Exactly. Is it a case that you can no longer do copyright law? There's a mindset I think Elon has on the rockets and stuff that they're building, or specifically the rocket boosters and whatnot. And there was a video out there where someone asks him like, "Oh, have you copyrighted or trademarked these things?" His kind of call out, which I kind of like, is why would you bother? Like you would only do copyright and trademark laws, or like to try to slow down other people from catching up to you. But if you're just looking for the betterment and you're just firing away kind of the best, fucking who cares? Don't copyright it, because no one's going to get close for you to continue to do it. So maybe there is shifts and changes into what, the application of it, or if it's outdated in its model, because now there's such an ability to generate those sort of ideas and creations. So maybe it's that as well.
Yeah. Check out my book review of Common as Air, because this real dives into it, and I think expresses my thoughts on why copyright and IP is a bit
outdated.
Stupid.
So I just think I think both closed and open source AI are going to be useful, all in their own rights. It's going to definitely depend on what its application is going to be that you want to use it for. I can certainly tell you the various reasons why Anthropic or OpenAI or some of the Microsoft AI is way better for coding. Like, way better. You go and use an open source model, maybe it's okay, but its level of integration in some of these other closed systems and the ease of use, it just blows them out of the water, right? So I can see there's easy use cases why you'd use that. But some other generations, maybe more creative outputs, maybe things that are restricted, more freedom of speech and creation of information, that might be better on that front from a use case perspective, or maybe it'd be like on par, just as much or a little bit better. So I think both will have their use cases, let's just say.
Sure. Talking about briefly on the talent side of things, one of the things Adam Curry says about the podcasting 2.0 community, he's always like, I could never get this group in a company. This would not work. Like, the amount of money it would require to hire all of these people to do all of this work, and getting them to voluntarily or work productively in a group environment just wouldn't work. And this is why open source is so great in many ways, is you can attract a lot of talent, and they're doing it free, voluntary. And so it's one of those ones where it's, the work culture and team culture and stuff, if it breaks apart, it breaks apart in open source, and that does happen. People have personalities and they'll fuck things up and whatnot, but there's not necessarily the motivation and talent aspect. I think you can get really motivated, talented people in open source as well. How it measures up to these other companies is up for debate, but it's not as one-sided as
here's a futuristic take that maybe comes sooner, maybe doesn't. I'm just picturing one of these closed companies achieving what may be true AGI, right? Like true AGI.
There's a question for us to after.
So like a real true AGI. What if you get a couple of these that are might as well be, or even better than 8 billion people working all at once? Then there is no match, because you have these internal technical agents or participants that are just outdoing entire world creation in just whatever time frame you want to do. Yeah. Then that's it. Then you've just outpaced it completely and utterly, and there's no catching it at all. So that's the other injection idea that perhaps could happen. I don't know. Again, there's a lot of that's a very high level pitch for what there's a lot of intricacies in what that actually means.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. We'll talk about that afterwards. Boostagram Lounge, this section is where we like to thank the people who have supported the show. I don't think anyone supported this week, so I'm just going to talk about some changes coming up.
Just quickly, there was a V for V boost.
Yeah, I saw that for the.
Sorry. So
that was just someone following on the on TrueFans.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Cool.
The Blake Bloomer actor. I can't remember that guy's name. In any case, a couple of changes coming up. So no financial support this week. Very sad puppy. You can do better, people. You can do better.
Do better.
I'm going to change up the value for value splits probably this next week. And so just into the easiest way possible using Fountain and Satoshi Stream. So that's one thing. There is probably some things that, once again, getting into like agentic AI and stuff like this. When does the website come up for renewal?
Couldn't even tell you.
I don't think it's really needed, what we're doing at the moment. So I'm tempted to go for a less expensive, easier option if I can get some AI to. How good's ChatGPT at creating a website? If you're like, create a website and
most of the
using WordPress or something.
Doesn't matter. Most of the WordPress weeks, all of them now have all AI integrated to them, so they create the website for you pretty easily. So shit code, because that's one of the things people need to be aware of with a lot of the AIs is it makes a lot of redundant code, a lot of redundant items, unless you're really specific with the creation of the code itself. It's quite redundant, but it does the job pretty well.
Sure. I might play around with that. We'll see about that. So, so that's that for this week. You talked just then about the AGI. Will it come up? And this is kind of related to it, but is that going to come from if that does happen? Is it going to come from a company, you think, or will it come from a lone genius being able to do this on their own? What do you reckon?
I think it'll come from a company. Okay. I would even go as far. So, again, who the frick knows whether actually, unless you're working in some of these companies.
What about it will be the spark that creates it? Is it because that a human has, or a company has created the perfect way of synthesizing the knowledge of creating the correct algorithms to make the AGI come to life? Or is it going to be because they've got the most compute and that's the thing that's driving?
It's good. I think part of it compute, part of it will be, and this is, I guess, why I kind of maybe play like the idea of agents or agentic AI or its usage as application. I was a bit not confused, but I was like, if you create something that is all consuming and all powerful, which could then proliferate whatever agent AI you want to then use without the input necessarily from a human in a continuous way, that maybe that's one definition of approaching something like AGI. Then I'd go, and I could see that probably happening more so from a company than it would from a lone individual doing that, both by just the level of compute that you need or the level of interactions, security, whatever you want to call it. I would see that more so. So yeah, in that example is, imagine if, and I'm talking about here OpenAI because most people know about it, but ChatGPT 03 is going to be coming out at the end of January. Internally, there's been a bit of conversation. I was like, that's getting now pretty close to what they internally think is like more of AGI, and they might even start changing naming conventions to more AGI usage. I don't know what they define that, right? But let's just say that O3 comes out, it can proliferate more versions or even smarter versions, or go down the part of, okay, I have an intent that you want to do business or this or that. I'll just go and I can, on its own, it can go and create all of its agents, all of its creations, and then just keep on spreading from there. At that point, I go, man, if it's doing that and it's going to be doing that at magnitudes of every human being on Earth being able to do it, okay, now you've reached some escape velocity that no person, no decentralized group of people are going to be reaching it because it's just going at magnitudes faster. Then what? Like, what is this blocker? What is this restriction? How does any other entity go and beat that level that just kind of consumes? I know. Is it too futuristic? I don't know. I don't know enough of the
that's so far out
aspects of it.
It's kind of, it reminds me of when people talk about Bitcoin in 100 years time, and they're like, the security model, it's not going to work. When there's only the block rewards, only one Satoshi per block and things like this. And I'm just
quantum computing will break Bitcoin before that even happens.
Yeah. Well, even excluding that, it's so dumb to think that you could know what the world will look like in 120 years time, and this one particular problem. Yeah, you're arguing over this one thing. It would be, the equivalent of, so where are we now? 2024. So 1900s. What was the existential threat that they were thinking?
Pre-electricity.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It'd essentially be like, is electricity going to, I don't know, fry the brains of insects or something, or like, is street lights gonna burn the world or something?
Well,
just something so dumb.
I believe at the start of electricity, someone's got to go verify this, I just listened to it, but at the very, very beginning of them, there was no off switch or on switch. It was just, you had electricity plugged in, it was on, non-stop. So it kind of would have been like at that time, and you're like, fuck, but in 120 year times, imagine the amount of energy we're going to be using in this electricity. And
we can't turn it off.
But it's like, fuck, we have to switch. It's changed so much, but that's not a problem anymore.
Yeah.
I think similarly, like, that will not be a problem at all at that time. There'll be so many other things that either become bigger problems or get solved.
Yeah. And that's kind of how I view AGI. When you get too far down that rabbit hole, you just come up with all these crazy scenarios where it's just like, I don't know if any of this is going to be.
I'm going to make a bold prediction though. We sit right now at the end of 2024. I'd be willing to put a $1,000 bet. Mid 2026, I think that would have that's going to come to fruition in terms of the level of accessible models that can go and just generate multiple things. Maybe it's not this like panacea fucking looking amazing AI that's taken over everything, but to your call out of, oh, hey, I want to do this, I think it will get to a level of capability that you could just ask it like, hey, go and create this business, go and create this, and it will do it. The restriction is going to be, I think, in the integration layer. And even then I'm going to go, fuck, I think the closed models are going to blow that shit out of the water versus open source, decentralized models in its integration, network, power, business deals that will get done to be able to integrate whatever layers you want. Again, I could see many banking systems integrating with Microsoft and other layers to use the AI to do that sort of exchanges. I don't see them using an open source model to do that for various security reasons.
All right, I'll give you my little things here. So, will a lone genius be able to create a model or LLM or something that's so useful that someone could become a billionaire on their own? I don't think so. The Bitter Lesson, if you haven't looked up that, it's a little tiny article by Richard Sutton published in 2019. And when I say article, it's literally just 2 pages. And it sums up almost all of AI history in the sense that humans really want to try and use their knowledge to create a better way of accessing the data. Or so, for example, with chess, having heuristics or rules put into the program to go, okay, if generally you want to control the center of the board, that's like a general rule, and so they'd be trying to put that into the AI. This was when they were trying to beat the current world champion, and they were trying to put this into the model, saying like, yes, you can do this stuff on the side, but remember, you got to control the center. And this has occurred all throughout AI history of research and stuff, and it's always been the wrong approach to do that. The right approach has been spend your time making access to compute and using that compute better. And that's just because of Moore's law. You get more transistors, you get more power, and that's the thing that's actually worked. So in terms of beating Kasparov at chess, Lee Sedol at Go, it was just being able to use better the compute that was coming online better. So this is one of those ones where it's like the genius, lone genius being able to do the right things to create the right thing. No, that's not probably almost certainly not the right way to go. It's being able to use compute better. So then the question is,
I'll challenge your statement of using compute better. And I only challenge it because I got challenged about it as well. Because I was like, man, all of the big top players out there, all I'm hearing is everyone's going more compute, more. Now, my dad was the one who actually pointed out there's a couple of places in Korea and Japan that are coming out. It escapes me right now the name of it. I think I might have sent it to you though. But it was using the actual systems in a more efficient, effective way, so you don't actually have to be battling for compute, and you can do the same things with much less compute. And they were on par or almost beating in some aspects some of the current models, which made me be like, oh shit, maybe it isn't all that I just need is computers, maybe more effective usage of it. But again, that challenge, I was more in the camp on maybe, but I think you just need more compute regardless.
It reminds me of the book More from Less, which was saying a lot of the problems that we have with regards to trash and recycling, and we can't continually grow forever, which I do agree with. You can't. There are physical limitations to growth, but you can grow by using more from less. But you still need to have gotten too far up the range to then go like, okay, we need to dial it back a little bit by becoming more efficient. I think with the AI stuff, it's like, no, we need to do more and then maybe eventually
pull it back. Yep.
So then the question is, I guess, if you need compute, if that's a thing, that's got the big thing, will the closed source companies be able to access more compute, or will it be the decentralized ones? And this is where I don't know. What do you think on that?
What do we define there by compute? By the sheer number of
data centers and I don't know what compute is measured in terms of is it energy or is it like hash rate or
I'm not entirely sure, but all I know, I can see the amount of ridiculously large plants, like system plants that are being built by the likes of Elon through XAI, Microsoft through their own setups. I believe Microsoft has now bought I think it's 4 times more processing chips for its compute than everyone else combined. And it's just a ridiculous number of chips that they actually own to be able to do this. So part of me goes I think some of the closed companies out there are going to have more compute than even, aggregated across a decentralized system. I don't know. I don't really know.
Yeah, because this is where you go, if you look at Bitcoin mining, for example, you go, okay, well, they've harnessed a ridiculous amount of, and when I say they, I mean the Bitcoin protocol has harnessed a ridiculous amount of energy. That energy usage is 1% of the world's energy or whatever it is. It's crazy. I tried looking this up because I heard this claim, and I can't verify it particularly, and I don't know how to measure these things as well, but the amount of compute when Ethereum of GPU usage when Ethereum was at its peak of mining power was 50 times the amount needed to train GPT-4. So
what? So say that again.
So the amount of GPU compute that the Ethereum network was using was 50 times what was needed to train. I think he said to train the GPT-4. So once again, I tried looking this up. I don't really know how to measure these things, what kind of units. So I wasn't able to verify this, but it's one of those ones where apparently at the moment data centers are operating at about 70% efficiency, a lot of them.
Yep.
So there certainly is a lot of compute just out there where if you had the decentralized model and it's like, oh, we can't, access it for this thing, but, we need full power usage, or it needs to be for these hours of the days or this certain time. You can see where the decentralized, there's proven use cases where decentralized models or protocols work in being able to access and harness these sorts of things.
So this is what I can get on that. And again, let's take this with a grain of salt of how close it is. But some of the notes that I gathered here is that Ethereum for mining was using millions of GPUs worldwide with a combined power of about 1 petahash per second, giving an annual energy consumption of about 80 to 100 terawatt hours. Where for GPT, like GPT-3 and 4, the training cost was around 1,207 megawatt hours, or about 0.0016 terawatt hours. So, magnitudes smaller, correct? One of the things it does talk about, though, is the usage of GPU for Ethereum mining, like dwarfs the requirements for the training ChatGPT models, but the ChatGPT model creation was magnitudes more efficient and meaningful because the Ethereum mining was just pure repetitive cryptographic puzzle solving. But you're right, yeah. So like magnitude of powers more for peak Ethereum processing than it would have been training any of those models.
Yep. Last one, governments and regulations. This is the only other real big thing that I think will play a part in all of whether decentralized is useful or not. They're gonna do it, man. It doesn't feel like it at the moment because there's a bit of a shift to change. The US is becoming a bit more tech friendly at the moment, but that'll come around again in a couple of years' time, where the governments will start to see, oh shit, this stuff's really powerful. Like, oh, it can do these things, much like it did with the big tech companies, and then they start calling them into Congress and like blah 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 blah. I think that's going to happen. They're going to meddle with it. Yeah. This is where the decentralized, you at the very least want, I think need is probably the better word, to have an alternative option out there. So once again, will it be better than the closed source? Who knows? Probably not. At least not for the immediate future. But I certainly want to have access to these things, and this is where it's getting towards like the I've heard some arguments of like the AI alignment problem. What if it gets conscious and it's not aligned with humans and kills us all, and these sorts of things. The
paperclip problem, if you want to go public with that.
The paperclip maximizer, it gets the task in its head that it needs to maximize paperclips and turns the whole world into it, including humans. The thing that I've been coming more onto is like the models, the agents probably need to be individualistic. It needs to be trained on me, and this will be the biggest use case. So the use case of I wanted to create a website for me. Type it in and it does it. There might be. It's almost like I have the feeling the future will be something like I'll have a model where I'm just talking to, and then it knows about what kind of website I want, and will go and find another agent that will do this thing. So it's like agents interacting with agents. That's kind of how I view the world going, and I'm probably going to have one that knows me and knows when I mistype this word, I actually meant this. I'm being sarcastic right now, so don't actually do that thing. Or I'm drunk. Definitely don't do that thing. So I definitely, and that's where I'd go, I'd feel much more comfortable interacting with one that I know is open source, has my privacy, locked in guarantees, I guess, if you want to call it like that.
The one problem I see with that model, or with that sort of system, again, I only come into it with like some of the experience throughout some of the integration, is I think people miss the fact that to do actions to such a more extended degree, you have to integrate or interact with other systems that are existing systems, right? So it's not like an open source right now. Maybe even in the long term, this will change. But in the short to medium term, you're still having to integrate with other systems, other companies to get what you want. Take the example of, I want you to go and buy $50,000 of whatever. I want you to go and create a website. Yeah. The AI itself that you're using isn't going to do that. It then has to go and plug into somewhere else. Even if to the point of you said, let's say you're using an open source system, an AI, and you say, hey, I need to create this sort of website. You know me, it needs to be this, it needs to do that. Fantastic. It'll go find the best website creator for you that it needs to do that. It'll know which one the cheapest is. But, if you want to connect with an API or an integration with that agent, there's still personable information that you have to apply into that other system for it to go and create something. That layer, I think, is going to be a bit of a interesting one, at least to solve if you're using a more decentralized way. It's because there are certain keys and security inputs or identifiers that those other systems need, which will not be provided by a decentralized model or more open, like contains a privacy. Now, if that were to happen, you could go either one of two ways. Well, companies would just not do that, or the models themselves, like the actual open source models, will have to use something, a security encrypted a la Apple, like when you pay with your Apple credit card, if you use a phone and you use Apple Pay as opposed to your credit card, it actually sends through an Apple token for the security, not the credit card token. Yeah. So that's how it protects that. So unless they're building that, which then means they have to have some level of your information to do that, then I don't know how that's going to work out, at least in the short to medium term, where I see that abundantly being much easier for a closed system that does have that sort of information, that does have the level of privacy that they can keep from some sort of level of security, that meets all of the ISO 2700, ISO 1400 clarifications that a bank might need to even be able to do that. So again, with the using an AI agent, I might go, hey, I need to send, can you send $2,500 to, no, not even that. You say, build me this website. And as part of that, one of the, it's like, okay, you have to pay, you have to put in your credit card details, or you have to do some sort of transaction to pay for something. I think the open source model is going to have a real hard time without identifiers, whereas a closed system with identifiers with some level of privacy integration will be able to pass on all that information through an API or some other form of ingestion for them to actually take that action. Currently, that's a humongous blocker. And I think a lot of people probably will miss that in a world where you're still integrating with a lot of things until it becomes somehow completely devoid of that and you don't even need that anymore. You're still going to have to integrate with existing systems. To do that, you have to provide the information that they need to go and create whatever that you need to create. You're going to need something in that place. When you go to Wix.com right now, if you go to Wix.com and you want to create a website and you type in all the details and use AI, to get there, you have to put in your personal information. You have to put credit card payments. You have to do all these various things. They need certain level of identifiers to go and do what they need to do. Without that process isn't going to begin. Or maybe other open source systems will have to come and take place.
I think a lot of that will go away. Yeah, the amount of just data you need to provide for the minorest of things, I think will eventually, and it will probably pretty quickly actually go away.
You reckon?
Yeah, I reckon.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, I don't know. In all of my time that I've seen, I've not seen a trend away from that. In all of the various integrations and connections with a lot of places, their existing systems are built with a lot of that information coming through. So you would either have to have a major transformation on basically like all companies and how they do that, or have new companies that come in that disrupt all these systems to go, you don't have to provide that. It can just be pure other type of information that's being shared to create whatever you need. Could go either way.
Yeah, we'll see.
Again, I think it's going to be a lot of interesting conversations that come up in 2025 in AI. Honestly, like I'm excited for like if O3, like the amount that they're talking up internally about what O3 from OpenAI looks like by the end of January. I've got my hands on O1 Pro. I sort of said this to you before. It takes a long time to process some things, and man, it's revolutionarily different to the simple free model that you can find on OpenAI. If you've never tried it, I guess there's no way for you to maybe go watch some videos of how it's used. It's logical reasoning, and not only it's logical reasoning, but as I said, I thought of hey, I want to create this sort of thing for a particular business. It'll not only do that, but it does inquire questions and more things and prompt you. without me prompting it. So there is a lot of that internal conversation going in of, oh, but have you thought about this? And what about this legal regulation and that? I've not seen any other model do that. Fuck, it's doing that well. The next model coming down the line is multiples that. I don't even understand what that even looks like. I don't know. Again, it's very different of information usage versus integration connections and stuff like that. But again, it just seems interesting. I feel like us in the podcast, you're going to be talking very specifically about one concept of AI, which is Morpheus, which will be interesting, right? There's a very different way to think about some of the stuff that's going on. I just think there'll be, I'm sorry, mere mortalites. We talked about crypto and NFT quite a lot back in 2022, 2021, 2022, 2023. Less so in 2023. I feel like 2025 is going to be a lot more AI conversations.
Yeah,
not in a on-demand news, but just I think it's going to consume a lot more of this,
interesting
of the
stuff
things we do.
For sure. Yeah. Yep.
I think we'll leave it there. Immortalize, thank you very much. Is there any questions at all from the live?
No, I saw Dimelix in the chat. GM, Quantum Hosky.
Quantum Hosky.
Maybe a little bit more of that coming up.
Jesus.
The year of Hosky.
When's Hosky coming back to peak? Is it March? Is March going to be all-time highs?
Yeah, fucking nice.
Going to zero, going to $1. No in between. All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for tuning in. Immortalize. Hope you're well. One out.
Going out.
Good.
Bye.